So this week in your virtual collaboratory groups, you're going to be selecting one microblog entry from the Common Worlds Research Collective website that's posted, the link is posted on this week on eLearn, and you're going to be discussing how you see post-human or new materialist theory alive in it. And you can draw from both post-human and new materialist theory in your analysis. So drawing on the readings from this week, pull out ideas and phrases from the blog post that make visible the author's theoretical orientation. So your weekly response this week will be one collective response that you'll post together with your group on eLearn. So together you'll discuss this microblog, and using the articles and course lecture notes, write a 200 to 300 word response on how post-human theory is present here. So how are the author's theoretical perspectives noticeable? How do you see the author's use of language or photography hint to this? What are the clues that they're orienting with a particular theoretical perspective? Please provide some examples from the microblog and generate some correspondences with quotes from the readings. So you only need to post one collective response this week by November 25th at 11:55 p.m. And then you can respond individually to one other entry on the provocation forum. I also want to draw your attention to the manifesto and the visual responses that are coming up. So your week 12 response will be your manifesto, and this is worth 10% of your grade. So a manifesto, again, is a public declaration that often addresses aim, motives, or views of the issuer. At the same time, manifestos are exposed. They're provocations for further dialogue. So as you compose your manifesto, you should be thinking about how this writing is going to enhance or provoke dialogue of those who read it. It's an invitation almost. So considering the main ideas and discussions that sprang from this course, you're going to be writing a pedagogical manifesto. So some of the expectations for this manifesto are that you're using concise statements on how we should conceive early childhood education, how you see the image of the educator, how you see the image of the child, and the pedagogical relationship. So explain principles, why you're adopting them, why the reader should take it seriously for inclusion as a manifesto. Your style should have a clear rationale. The ideas should be connected and they should flow well throughout the text. You should be using relevant sources and relevant connections that are specifically from the class readings. Please only use citations that we've discussed in the class. I'm not going to say how many citations because I think that depends on your arguments and which pieces you find useful in your composition, but you should be using at least 2, I would say. Statements should be clearly related. You shouldn't be having fragmented phrases. Everything should look as if it's fitting together. The structure, no more than 4 paragraphs. 3 is also fine. This shouldn't be a really long statement. No more than 2 pages, I would assume. You should have at least one clear connection to the readings or more, and in-class discussions for each statement that you propose. So again, all of the phrases and the things that you include in this should be coming from some kind of course dialogue, or it should be coming from some connections to the readings. You should also be following APA guidelines. So some of you have been thinking of your visual response assignments to the selected chapters and concepts. I have provided a list of artists that you might like to think of that's on eLearn, as well as the concepts to think with as well. So this assignment is intended for you to respond to a concept or a few concepts that are related that are posted on eLearn. So you're to choose a particular visual piece, a photo, art installation, or painting. There's a list that I've included on eLearn. as a way to create a response to the main ideas and concerns that have been discussed about the specific concept in the course. So the visual response is meant to interact in relevant ways with the readings so that it can help the interpretation and understanding of the concepts that we've been discussing. So the visual response should have an introduction, at least 1 to 2 paragraphs, and a rationale, 2 or 3 paragraphs max. The image has to be well researched. You should be able to offer a context of the image and why it's particularly relevant in discussing your chosen concept. So you'll need to know the general background about the artist and the ideas and concepts behind the artistic work, and that can be included in the introductory paragraphs. So some of the expectations of this response is that the rationale clearly presents your perspective and critical understanding of the concepts. You should be really situating this within the course texts and readings. The rationale communicates specific, accurate, and relevant links to the texts, again, that address the concepts. The introduction and rationale demonstrates that you've studied the concepts closely, that you've engaged in the course lectures, that you've been working with the content online and the dialogues in your virtual collaboratories. The written rationale clearly and succinctly describes the intentions of the piece, the art piece, and how it serves as a visual response to the concepts that you're analyzing. So, for example, the written rationale explains any major symbols and themes or provocations that the artist was offering in the piece and its relations to the concept that is being analyzed. So the medium selection is clearly appropriate and creates a response to the concepts. So the piece that you're responding to should be very clearly linked with the concept of the course. The size and scale selection are appropriate to communicate the ideas. The introduction reflects that you've researched about the artist and the artistic piece, that this isn't random, but that it was an intentional and thoughtful selection. Also, of course, that you're following APA and that your sentences are well organized, ideas flow, and there are no grammatical errors. So those are a few points to think about as you're composing your visual response. It's worth 20% of your grade, and it's going to be due on November 28th. There's more details, or these details are also posted on eLearn in the assignment description page. And also, I'll be in my virtual office this evening and next every Thursday between 5 to 7 p.m. If anybody wants to jump on and ask any questions or share some of the things that you've been working on, I'll be there and can offer you some feedback. So yeah, looking forward to seeing you guys in the chats this week. Have a great week.